Today's question comes to us from a lady who was pregnant and at her 9-week ultrasound was told by the doctor that the child's heartbeat had stopped and that ultimately a D&C would be necessary. So she went to a relative, a spiritual relative, who told her that with enough prayer, with enough faith, that God would raise that child from the dead, resurrect it in her womb. And so she did. She prayed and prayed and prayed with faith, believing that God would raise her child back from the dead. But he didn't. He didn't grant her request. Thus the question, if God denies my request, if God does not answer my request, does that mean that I lack faith? Does that mean that I did not have enough faith? And I believe the answer to that is no, not necessarily, and certainly not absolutely. Let's look at two examples from the Bible. The first example I want to look at is from 2 Corinthians chapter 12, in which the Apostle Paul writes of having a thorn in the flesh, a messenger sent from Satan, a messenger of Satan to torment him. And he writes that 3 times he pleaded with the Lord to remove it. And God's answer? No. God did not grant the Apostle Paul's request. Is it due to a lack of faith? Are we going to accuse Paul of lacking faith? Certainly not. In fact, the reason that God did not grant his request is right there in the context of 2 Corinthians 12. It's to keep Paul from becoming conceited due to the surpassingly great revelations that he was receiving. To teach him that God's grace is sufficient, that his power is perfected in weakness. So God did not grant Paul's request not due to a lack of faith, but for other reasons. Now the second example I want to look at is from Mark chapter 9. A man brings Jesus, his son, who had been tormented by a spirit that had prevented him from speech. And so the man says to Jesus, "If you can do anything, take pity on us." And Jesus' response was, "If you can do anything, everything is possible for him who believes." Immediately the man replies, "I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief." And at that point, Jesus didn't say, no, look. You're using verbiage like, if, sounds like you're doubting, help me overcome my unbelief. Look, buddy, I only grant the request of those who have a lot of faith. You don't have enough faith, therefore I won't grant your request. No, Jesus grants his request, drives out the spirit, in spite of his lack of faith, in spite of his unbelief. So to answer the question, if God does not grant my request, is that due to a lack of faith on my part? The answer is no, not necessarily, and certainly not absolute. My name is David Boone. I'm the pastor of New Covenant Fellowship in Georgetown, Texas. We meet on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. at the Page House, 1903 JM Page Lane. Hope to see you there. Check out our website, www.ncfgeorgetown.com.